America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
We're in the great state of Michigan for the I Build America podcast, and I'm really excited about our guests. We're here to talk about the history, the vibrancy, the workforce, the community, the jobs that are being created. Michigan serves as a unique place in the history of America. But I'm here with Janina Jacobs. Janina, welcome to the I Build America podcast.
Thank you, Ronnie. I'm really privileged to be here today. Thank you.
Now, you're special. You are a person that's done so much throughout the entire state and even the entire country. But you're a golf professional. You're a restaurant owner for 40 years in one of the most established restaurants in Detroit. You've done so much. You also serve as the president of the Navy League. You grew up in a military family. Your nephew is in the military. But your history and what you've done from a community standpoint, workforce development standpoint, job creation standpoint, absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you, Ronnie. And actually, there's a lot of people who will label me a Renaissance woman, which I'm really not sure what that means. But I had parents. My father was in the military. He was in World War II. And, of course, long before I existed. But I had a family, a mom and a dad, that introduced us to so much when we were kids. Golf. I'm a professional musician. I'm not a professional golfer. People think I am, but I do a lot of writing, television, broadcasting, and golf, and I did a lot of competing in tournaments from ages 8 until even now I'm at age 69.
Right.
And so my parents, it was never a family of no, you can't do that. It was always a family of yes. And because of that, I was one of those curious kids. Great in school. The kids hated me probably because I'd be teacher's pet, one of those. But I was always doing something. So they couldn't bully me or anything like that because, well, if you can back it up, who can say that you're telling fibs about what you can do? So being exposed to music, I'm a pianist, an organist, and a singer. Been director of music at churches for 53 years in the Detroit metro area.
I want to come back to that, but you grew up in Detroit,
In Detroit, right.
That is incredible. So born and raised here in Detroit.
I'm a native Detroiter, and my father, my father learned to play golf in the military.
Okay.
He was out in Fort Ord, California, and he learned to play golf from a deal he made about letting the guy get out of PE. And so he taught my father how to play golf correctly, which, by the way, I recommend to everybody. If you're going to take up golf, take it from a professional, learn how to do it.
Right.
So my dad became very good very quickly. When he got out of the service, he brought that home, taught all of us how to play golf when we were very, very little, but became a Detroit firefighter instead of a golf pro, because back in the 50s, it's not Scotty Scheffler money the way it is now. Pros came into the back doors of clubs.
So he served in the U.S. Army.
U.S. Army. He was a sergeant, and he was the drill instructor. He was like Lou Gossett, an officer and a gentleman. Right. But he came to Detroit. So we grew up. I wouldn't consider ourselves poor because we never had a hungry day, but we were not rich. We were in the outskirts of Detroit because firefighters had to live in the city back then. Okay, and but we still attended Detroit public schools. I went to Pershing High School, got a great education. Very nice. Went to Wayne State University on a full merit scholarship from the state of Michigan, got a golf scholarship as well, and got a wonderful education. And ultimately, that's where my restaurant was, Capers Steakhouse, which was became a legendary place. But oddly enough, people have probably heard a lot about Detroit and the crime and the this and the that. But it really is a great city. But parts of it, there were parts that weren't so good. Right. And the restaurant just kind of fell in our hands, and it was in the worst crime district in the city back in 1982 when we took it over. Right. Still is in the worst crime district. But we had really a good 42 years of being a place where the community could gather. Mayoral candidates would come and canvass because they knew it was the place. We had a diverse clientele. Right. Excuse me. We had a very diverse clientele. And it was great food at great prices.
Right.
And so little by little, it just did some marvelous things.
I'd love to come back to that in a moment as well. But Detroit and Michigan has a special place in American history. Manufacturing, the auto industry, the defense industry. Most people don't recognize that a lot of the planes that were built and a lot of the machinery back in the early days of our early wars for the U.S. were made right here by many of those manufacturers. But I want to talk about your golf and your college first.
Okay.
Because you mentioned your father being a golfer and he teaching you golf at a young age. You went on to play golf for your men's high school team.
I did.
And then you played for your college men's high school team.
I did.
Back when you were in college, which is just
1973 to 1977.
Absolutely incredible.
Right.
What inspired you to be that competitive and to take on the team?
I was always competitive, but not terribly. I mean, sometimes I felt bad if I won. I hate to say that, but anyway, a lot of girls didn't play golf back then.
Right.
And Title IX entered the picture when it was passed in June of 1972, which allowed a number of things, but one of them was to let me compete on a men's team where there was no women's team.
Okay.
So I did that my last year of high school, and then because of that, I did get the golf scholarship at Wayne State.
Amazing.
Competed for 4 years on that team, which was a very interesting dynamic because I played. My older brother Chris, was on the team for 2 years, and so we did some damage. I won my share of matches and lost. For me, it was different because I really didn't care whether I won or lost.
Sure.
The guys sure did, though.
Right.
They remembered, and so I was also able to play as a single competitive woman in women's events as well. The men's was team.
Gotcha.
But the one thing I will say about golf is that now the game is exploding because, as I had mentioned to you before when we talked, I did broadcasting and writing and television on golf. The one thing I would encourage every parent or anybody to get their kids started in that game because it teaches so much.
Right.
And the discipline, the competitive, the stick-to-itiveness, the rules, knowing when to take chances, knowing when not to. It's such a discipline.
And that's why I wanted to discuss it. We're mostly focused on job creation, workforce development, economic development from our program, and how do we impact those areas both from a state and a national perspective. But I think some might underestimate exactly what you just mentioned, that a sport like golf or whatever the sport might be, one, it keeps young people out of trouble. It gives them something to focus on, gives them that level of discipline, that coordination, that strategy development. And you did it in a time where I think it was even more challenging to do it, particularly as a young female. But it set you up for so much. You're a senior. You're a president of a lot of associations and organizations. You're a writer within the newspaper business. You're a golfing expert. And you had your business for 41 years, and I believe you're in real estate as well, if I remember correctly.
As an investor, yes, in hotels. And you know what, Ronnie? All of that boils back down to golf instilling confidence.
Right.
And couple that with my music, which I also started at age 7. So by the time I was 14, I could play piano, sing. I was in theater, musical theater in those years.
Very versatile.
Yes, and what that does is when you do those things as a kid, the confidence that you get, it carries into your adult life. And that probably the number one fear of most people is being afraid to speak in front of people in public. I never had that.
Right.
Because I always did that as a kid. So that never worried me. And then with golf, you're competing in front of others. And I have to say that, especially with the music and the golf, those two confidence builders propelled me to go forward in many, many areas that were mostly male.
Okay. The
restaurant business, church music, that was mostly male. You're dealing with a lot of priests all the time.
Right.
The golf business, any kind of a business, it was primarily male. So I've always been what they call a grass ceiling breaker and a glass ceiling breaker. And I've done that in a number of times. So my advocacy, and military, of course, military was all very, very, male-dominated back in the day. And I fought some battles with that where some of the guys, well, she's a civilian and she's a woman, so I don't know if she should lead things. But because of my confidence and because of what I do, I caught the eyes and ears of commanders, admirals, who kind of overruled the guys that said, well, no, Janina shouldn't be doing that. And they're like, well, I'm the one who suggested she should. So when you are verified that way, it makes it very easy for you to come in and mentor. I mentor a lot of kids in various endeavors in music, and adults too, in music and golf and junior programs. And it makes it very easy for me to do that because I've experienced those times when people didn't think I was good enough.
That's amazing. So, Janina, I want to definitely discuss how you reach becoming involved with the Navy League. But before we go to the Navy League, you mentioned something that I think is so important as people start to map out the careers and lives of their kids, and then those kids, when they grow up to become adults. My daughter mentioned something not long ago, which was really fascinating. It touched my heart. But she mentioned she's in college, and she mentioned that she finds herself saying things to her friends that I used to say to her as a kid.
Oh no, we've become our parents.
I know, exactly, and that's what I said to her. You know, that was my biggest concern. But you mentioned that those were a lot of defining moments for you. Your father teaching you golf, your brother getting you into music and singing and other activities, and how that really shaped your evolution. And I think, how do we help to give that same kind of experience, if it's not offered at home, for instance, to some of our youth so that they can grow up and prepare to be successful and contribute to the community? And it sounds like you've been mentoring students in your own way to help give them those experiences that you had as a kid.
I have, and I think it's important that it does start in the home. Things do start in the home, and I was lucky enough to have great parents who let us grow and let us fly. Not every kid has that. One other thing I would say too, as I was thinking about this morning, is, it seems like when you go to college or before college in high school, people will ask you, well, what are you majoring in? What do you want to become in life? Well, let me tell you, as I said, I'm 69. I don't still know what I want to be in life. I've had many careers, and I've never stopped one and started another. I've kept them all going. So my advice is, don't be boxed in by, well, I want to be this, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. Yeah, we need those folks. But I can't tell you how many doctors and lawyers I've met who said, Janina, I'm so tired of being a lawyer and a doctor. I want to do what you do. And you can't box yourself in. And maybe in keeping with that, what I would suggest to young people is, don't be afraid to search out invitations to do this and do that. I was exposed many, many times as all ages. Hey, would you like to come and do this? Would you like to come and do that? Which I've kind of turned into a mantra called accept every invitation. Because I should write a book on this. I've got about 10 books I'm working on. But to realize that sometimes invitations come disguised as hard work. And they also come disguised as opportunities that you don't even know are out there. And when you agree to do something, and then you're driving to this, whatever it is, and you go, gosh, why am I driving across town to do this or do that? And then you do it. And you meet people and you learn things. You learn about new groups. You learn about new opportunities. You learn about new mentors, new businesses. And you're driving home and you say to yourself, wow, am I glad I did that? And it really does happen every time, I have to tell you, because that has led to me doing more cool things, including becoming involved in Navy. And you mentioned, how did I become involved in that? And it's really a crazy story. It happened when 3 Navy chiefs walked into my restaurant having dinner. And I'm thinking, why are they here? We don't have a base. Selfridge really isn't kind of considered an active military base here in our arsenal of democracy, but now it's becoming more important. But why Navy? We don't have ships. The Detroit River is not deep enough. When USS Detroit came into town, we had to build barges into the river to accommodate that. Well, Do I talk to them? Do I not? Do I bother them? Do I not? What the heck, yeah. I'll go up and say hi. That changed everything.
Okay.
When I went and said hello, I said, who are you? What are you? Oh, ma'am, we're Navy recruiting. We have recruiting offices in 25 states. They're 2-state recruiting offices. I went, well, I didn't know that. Well, what are you working on? It's something you probably wouldn't be interested. I go, well, try me. You don't know. Turned out they were working on a project to encourage people to understand Navy SEALs. They were doing a Navy SEAL fitness challenge in Detroit, and their problem was they didn't have a local Navy SEAL to be their poster child.
Okay.
And I said, well, you know how you guys told me that you didn't think I could help? I said, you never know who you're talking to. Tell them what you need because you never know. I said, this must be your lucky day. And they, ma'am? Turns out, I said, guys, my nephew is a Navy SEAL stationed in Coronado, California.
I love it.
And I'm his coolest aunt. And if we ask and he's available, I bet he would come and be your poster child. And they went, oh, you need to meet our commander. I went, well, why would I do that? He goes, well, because he knows how to command nuclear subs, doesn't know much about marketing and promotion, which is what Navy recruiting is.
Right.
So next day I get a call. Commander says, Janina, my men met you. I says, let me tell you what they said. We met this woman in a bar. And he said, that's exactly what they said. I want to have lunch. I want to talk to you. Well, next thing I know, I'm on the civilian board for recruiting.
Oh, wow.
Next thing I know, I'm the president. Next thing I know, I'm running civilian ends of Navy weeks and fleet weeks for Detroit events. Then I'm running special events for commissioning of USS Detroit in 2016.
Amazing.
And then the next thing I know, I'm in the Navy League, president of the Navy League for the last 8 years. And I'm doing things.
Very nice.
I'm landing on aircraft carriers. I'm
so
going
amazing.
and visiting Coronado and seeing what the Navy does, watching trained dolphins, all these things that I couldn't imagine that as a 20-year-old, that I would ever do that. It all became available to me because I decided to engage someone in conversation.
Right.
So talking to people, I think, can really, really help kids and their families engage.
Right.
Go up to somebody you don't know and ask.
And before we talk about your restaurant, because I'd love to know how you, one, entered your restaurant business and then entered the real estate business. You mentioned hotels. But tell us about your nephew. One, as a program, we greatly support our service members. And I lived out in Southern California, visited a lot of those facilities. Amazing people. Navy SEALs, absolutely amazing. I grew up in Virginia, where we also have a lot of our Navy personnel. But tell us about your son. Your nephew.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be proud to have him as my son, but nephew's okay too. Ryan Parrott, call sign Birdman, not because of the name,
right,
but because in his second year or so of being stationed out in places we can't talk about,
right,
his tank hit an IED, and he was thrown from the turret, hence Birdman. And Ryan's journey to become a SEAL, I think, is very, very interesting to a lot of young men. I don't know if they're accepting any women SEALs yet, but to a lot of young men who, shall we say, might be heading toward being what we used to call burnouts in high school, kids that weren't accomplishing their potential. Ryan was one of those kids.
Oh, interesting.
He grew up, he's a product of divorce, but both his mother and father, they still raised him, my brother. And I also helped with Ryan because, well, he's my nephew.
Right.
And one day at a family party that my oldest brother Mike used to throw every year at Christmas time, it was, I think, in 2002, something around then, Ryan announces to the family that he's going to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. Well, when anybody says that, the first thing oh my God, 80% of them flunk out. And Ryan, he's not doing so good. In fact, his grades, he was a good kid. I mean, he had great potential, but he just wasn't finding his way.
Right.
So everybody, oh, Ryan, no, why are you doing this? I went up to him because I knew my father valued his service. And I went up to Ryan, who had his other grandpa who was in the Navy. And I simply said to him, Ryan, you can do anything you want. When you graduate from Navy SEAL training, I will come to Coronado and I will attend your graduation.
Nice.
And he just looked at me and he says, thanks, Aunt. I'm Aunt Tweet, by the way. Aunt Tweet, which has nothing to do with my name either, but playing clarinet in the 3rd grade, which I did that too. So Aunt Tweet. And so I just said, okay, well, trouble was he had to repeat 12th grade because he had failed it. And in order to join the Navy, you have to graduate from high school.
Right.
But the good thing was I had a second restaurant at one time that was in Mount Clemens, and there was a recruiting office just a little ways away. So Ryan would go there, and he would train with the young men and women in that recruitment facility. So he trained for a whole year before he was able to apply and be accepted by the Navy to become a SEAL. And that's exactly what he did. He graduated in 2003, I believe was the year, and he served for 10 years until 2013. And so here's this burnout kid that he could have gone either way.
Right.
I mean, he really could. But because...
And when you say either way, he could have gone good or bad.
He could have gone the way how we know what happens with kids sometimes who get in the wrong crowd.
Lost. Right.
But he instead opted toward the military out, and it became his life. Since he's been out, Ryan founded a burn foundation because he was burned in the IED explosion and realized that treatment of burns wasn't as good as other treatment.
Right.
He's in Dallas, Texas, Sons of the Flag.
Wow.
And then he turned that over to his board a couple of years ago, and now he's doing a lot of extreme sports and studying extreme human performance as to what the body and the mind can do under certain conditions. Right. So he's doing great things. He's married now, got 2 little boys, and just a fabulous individual. But you think it could have been this close to not going
and
that
I think
way.
that's part of the whole purpose for the I Build America podcast is to talk about workforce development opportunities, not just for businesses to find employees or governments to find ways to bring in new jobs, but for the individual looking for options. So you think about Job Corps as being a place for people that have gone a little wayward and they need a skill or a trade and they might need housing. The Job Corps offers people from around 16 to 24 an opportunity. But then you think of our military as well. I've seen with so many people that I know, the military saved them. In fact, the owner of a company that I know well, the Serrata Corporation, dropped out of high school and then worked his way back so that he can get into the military. He went into the Marines. And same thing. It gave him an education. It gave him a formal education, but then it gave him a life education as well. And he went on to do some great things. But it's a great option for people.
The military does that. And you talk about trying to get all these entities together. And I think that's one of my, I mean, I have a lot of specialties, but I think one of my other big specialties is in collaboration and networking.
Yes.
I get around. I know a lot of people in a lot of different areas between military, veterans, community organizations. I sit on a number of boards. I'm on the Freedom Center board, which is the military lounges at the airport and here in Detroit.
Right.
Golf, sports, basketball. I played basketball, by the way, too, in high school. I lettered in varsity basketball. But that because I get around, what I'm able to do is bring in all these people from different works of life and different organizations. For example, right now I'm working with the Team Up Academy, which helps transitioning veterans, gives them life skills. See, one problem I think a lot of military people have is when they get out of the service.
Correct.
They're so used to being told what to do and how to do it. When you get out, you don't really have that. You have to figure it out yourself. So what Team Up and some other organizations do, and I really highly recommend joining Air Force Association, Navy League, the AUSN, the Army, the Marines. They all have associations. And by the way, we all work together. In fact, we're sitting in an office right now that is a collaboration office that Senator Mike McDonald, when he was a senator, set up as a bipartisan way for all of us to come together. If you probably can't look around the room, but there's posters up for all of the branches of the service. And we work together. And whenever we have events or whenever we have initiatives or educational opportunities or expos or whatever, we spread the word among everyone we know, and that includes educational facilities as well. So we get the word out there, and I post on Facebook and things like that. But to me, it's still one-on-one relationships. I've always told people, because they say, well, Janina, how do you get people so involved in these things? I said, you have to ask. I go, you can put a blanket statement out there to a big group and say, hey, Air Force Association, hey, Navy League, we need this. We need a committee chair. We have an event. We need this. Who's going to answer? When you ask everybody, nobody comes forward.
Right.
When you go and you ask individuals, hey, Joe, will you do this? Hey, Kathy, will you do that? Oh, sure, Janina, what do you need? That's how you get it done.
Right.
You have to ask and establish relationships with people.
And
Janina, it all begins with people.
It does, and I'd love to get more of your thoughts on the collaboration piece, because that's also part of our mission with the podcast is how do we share information from around the country? So we're here in Michigan talking to you, one, because I hear that you're the fixer. You figured out how to speak to...
Who told you that?
You figured out how to speak to those individuals and get their commitment so that everyone can collaborate on solutions. Mm-hmm. And as we look across the country, I think sometimes there's so much lost in translation and maybe some duplication in other parts of the country, but we need to share those ideas. We need to bring people together to resolve some of the challenges that we might face. And workforce development seems to be one area that we can do more in collaboration. And you've done that here in Michigan. And so I'm amazed. You're a restaurant owner who writes for golf magazines, who's also serving on the Navy League and is involved in that community. You are your own collaborator with the different parts of Janine, but I find it absolutely amazing.
You don't want to see my what I call my black book. You don't want to see that. I open it up when people say, oh, Janina, can you do this? Like today, I'm triple booked.
Right.
And I open up the book and they see every day is packed with stuff and they went, oh my gosh. But that's how it's done. Again, accept every invitation and talk to people. When you talk to people, they find out what you do, you find out what they do, and then you find commonalities. And then you don't just let it die. When you get those business cards, I know a lot of people do it on the phone, but I use business cards. Jot down where you met this person and when and why. Because when I look through business cards and I haven't done that, I go, where did I meet? Oh, am I supposed to follow up? But let me give you a perfect example of what happens. You call me the fixer. Yes. I get into things I have no idea how it happens. but because of attending places, meeting people, you do find that your network of friends and acquaintances and business associates, just it's magnified, it's multiplied. A little over a month ago, of all things, I get a call from the Royal Canadian Navy, who we partner with.
Yes.
Janina, we need help from you. We have a French Navy ship coming into town the first weekend of May. The French consulate, the French consul, has been trying to figure out how to get the French Navy back and forth between Canada and the U.S. without a lot of border snafu.
Right.
We need your help. I'm like, well, how am I? Well, okay. So now the next thing I know is I'm getting emails from the French consul and from his assistant introducing themselves. Janina, we've tried to get this done, but we're running into roadblocks, not in Canada, but in the U.S. Can you help us? Because the Navy, there's 12 crew. They have to get back and forth to do presentations here, presentations in Canada, honoring the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic, which is a big thing during World War II. Many, many people lost their lives. Thousands did. So I used to know a lot of people in Homeland Security, Border Patrol, all of that.
Right.
Port Authority, when we did the commissioning of USS Detroit back in 2016. But things change. People move on. I stay here, but people move on, and you don't know who to call anymore.
Right.
Well, of all things, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I don't know, but I'm sure somebody in my network does. So what I did is I reached out to two friends who happened to be generals, one retired, one active. General Odie Slocum, maybe a lot of people know he used to command Selfridge.
Right.
Odie heads up the Air Force Association of the United States, well, in Michigan. I do their registration every month. 80, 100 people come through. They got to get by me first. I check them off. So I know all these people. Oh, yeah. Oh, Joe, Carl. Yeah, okay. Well, I also call the current commander of Selfridge, General Matthew Bronco Brancato. I said, guys, I'm in a bind. Who do we know? Give me your best guys in these arenas to help this French consul. We're doing international affairs now. Well, I get names, and the next thing I know, my phone is ringing, and here's a picture comes up, and a wonderful gentleman by the name of Carl Berry. I'm like, oh, Carl, why is he calling me? What's up? I see Carl every month at the AFA, at the Air Force. I check him in. He's one of the first to show up. Janina, girl, I understand you need help. I go, well, what? Well, Odie called me and said to call you about this border thing with the French.
Right.
Oh, well, then he started to tell me all he did. Okay, here's a good lesson for everybody. Every month, I saw Carl. Carl, hey, check, you're here.
Yes.
I'm checking in 80 people in about 15 minutes. I don't have time
to socialize.
To socialize. Yes. So I really didn't know. I mean, I know some of what they do, but not everything. Excuse me. Well, Janina, I was a police chief in 2 different police departments.
Oh, wow.
I worked border security. I have a security company. I worked the Republican and Democratic conventions up at Mackinac Island. I know NCIS. I know Homeland Security. I know the police. I know the Port Authority. I know all these people. What do you need?
I love it.
And I went, Carl, you're the man. I had no idea. He goes, well, it's what I do. Tell me what you need. Well, the next thing I know, I'm setting up Zoom calls between Carl, the French consul, Cedric Barrerin, his assistant, John Cooper, and myself.
Right.
We solved the problem.
Nice.
Carl solved the problem. I didn't really solve the problem, although he said I did, but I just knew who to call.
Right.
And even then, I didn't know who to call until I found out additional information that I had right here. I just didn't know it because I hadn't had those conversations. So my best advice, have those conversations with people who are in your network and know what they do, because you'll never know when they can help you with a problem that might seem insurmountable.
And you're absolutely right. I can tell you that is what this podcast is all about, is having that conversation, people knowing that you exist, Janina, right? And knowing some of the other guests that we have, and then finding a way to collaborate, research information about their organizations, and figure out how we solve those challenges. Mm-hmm. And you're right, that is a perfect example.
And I won't say it doesn't take work.
Oh, it absolutely
Yes,
takes
it does. I can't tell you the man hours or the woman hours that I spent during the commissioning of USS Detroit.
Right.
I'd be up at 3 a.m. sending emails out. Trouble was, the people I was sending them out to answered me at 3 a.m. I ended up, because when the ship, I don't know if people remember it, but we had this beautiful Navy ship at the riverfront.
Right.
And it was a very big community event. In fact, it brought the Navy and the city. Rocket Mortgage was our Quicken Loans at the time, was our major sponsor. It brought everybody together. We had the governor, the mayor, everybody was involved. Canada was involved. We had Mounties.
Amazing.
We had Mounties.
I love it.
And it was the first time ever that the Navy had involved foreign governments in a commissioning of USS ship. And that's because we told Big Navy, you need to do this because we're a mile across the river in Detroit. Well, no, we can't do it. Oh, yeah, you can.
Right.
So we did, and that's kind of what continued to forge our relationship with Navy. But the thing was, it was the collaboration, and then you find that these people, they stay with you because now you have a whole new network of opportunity to get things done that you want to do.
Absolutely.
And you carry that with you.
Right. So, Janina, as we wrap up this program, I'd love for you to do two things for me. Tell us about your restaurant business, because that is the hub for the spokes in a lot of community activities. Over 40 years, you were an institution in the community, your restaurant, which helps to bring people together. You help to build that collaboration. You met those members of the Navy that you mentioned earlier. But tell us about your business and on the restaurant side, and then also your hotel business.
Okay, first, the restaurant business. Here's another nugget for people. Never had a dream to own a restaurant, never intended to get into a restaurant. It just kind of happened. It actually started out prior to that, and this leads into the hotel investment. Prior to that, my husband and I were actually in the income housing business.
Okay.
We owned 2 families in Detroit, and no, we weren't slum landlords. We had very nice properties that we rented out. And what was supposed to be a purchase of a 4-family rental with another couple didn't happen. Instead, they had a line on a dying bar, shot in a beer restaurant. No, it wasn't even a restaurant. It was a joint on Gratiot Avenue. And because the owner at the time was, and I'll say this because that's exactly what he was, a misogynistic, alcoholic, not very nice guy who the business was dying.
Right.
He just didn't. He wouldn't deal with her because he didn't want to deal with women. So my husband went in, and we weren't even going in as investors.
Right.
We were just going in helping this couple with, okay, well, we don't know anything about the bar ride. I was 26. I had never cooked a day in my life because I was doing other things. My mom, you'll have plenty of time. Boy, was she right about that. And then the second part was I'd never poured a beer in my life. I didn't do any of that. So what ended up happening, we made the deal. The license had to go in our name.
Okay.
And unfortunately, what happens with partners sometimes, with 2 different divergent thoughts how places should be run, it was like oil and water. Okay. So within 6 months, the other couple vamoosed. Gotcha. So there we were, and we weren't even supposed to be in the place. They were going to run it.
Right.
So there we were with a bar, that neither one of us knew what to do, how to do it. And it was this close to selling it to a guy who wanted to buy it. He had cash on the barrelhead right then and there.
Okay.
But there happened to be, and here's another nugget of advice, happened to be parting words from the former partner, the woman. She said, quote, "You will never make this work."
Oh, wow.
Now, if those aren't fighting words, I don't know what is. And it's like, okay. So guess what? You learn the business from we knew nothing.
Right.
Knew nothing. Learn the business from the ground up, did everything ourselves the first 6 months to a year. At the time, and you don't know this either, at the time I was working as a sales rep for Jockey Underwear. I sold men's underwear.
Okay.
And I had 250 accounts in Michigan. So for like the first 9 months to a year maybe, I worked my sales job from 8 to 4. Then I would come to the restaurant and bartend till 2 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Go home, try to get some sleep, get up, do it all again. Meanwhile, I still was doing my weekend church music services.
Wow.
That went on for a long time. And guess what? Hard work, diligence, perseverance, learning. The business within 6 months, and this is rare for a restaurant, the business was turning a profit.
That is amazing.
And we just found, sometimes it's good not to know what you're doing.
Right.
Because then you really, really dig in and learn. I know people go to bartender schools or people go to restaurant schools or management, and they tell you how to do all this. And half the time when people tell me that, I go, don't pay any attention to that. That's not how it is. And that's not why you get into a restaurant. But we made it successful. And that, little by little, it just kind of grew into an institution. And because of all my networking and all my golf and all the different things, and we did steak by the ounce. Steak was our loss leader item.
Okay.
You know about loss leader items.
Absolutely.
Nobody does steak, but we did. We started with 30 cents an ounce for steak. You could get a 20-ounce steak for $6 with fries and tomato.
Wow.
That was the thing. And then we just kept building from there. And fortunately, after a while, we started hiring people, so I didn't have to work so hard. But you still maintain it. And when COVID hit, the only reason we're still not owning that restaurant, we got through COVID, and that was fine because we turned it into a carry-out business, which I didn't think carry-out steak would be a thing, but it was, because fast food was your only option. And plus our margaritas and Long Island iced teas, those help too. But it was after COVID when we could not find good help, which of course leads into your workforce development questions and programs. I think what happens today is not just young people, because there's a lot of good young people, but so many people don't know what hard work is. They're busy doing all this. They think that's hard work. They don't know the 20-hour days, the 16-hour days, the nights that you spend.
Or being 26 like you were and working a full-time job selling jockey and then having to run the business at night.
Yeah. They don't work that hard today. And I think that's what kids and young people have to understand is you got to get a work ethic back. You have to look at people who are successful and why they're successful. And why they're successful is it doesn't just fall into their lap. Maybe the opportunity does, but then you got to pick that opportunity up and do the work. You got to do the work.
Janina, I think between what you just described in your nephew's journey, someone who was a little lost before he found his way and had some coaching along the way, are just great tales for people that are looking to find their path to success. That sometimes you can go astray, but once you find that opportunity, you work hard at it and you take advantage of the opportunity to build something great.
And it's okay. The biggest thing I think people need to understand is it's okay to fail. There were other businesses we failed. You fail all the time. Golf. You fail all the time. Once in a while you win. Most of the time you fail. But that's okay because you learn everything. So people have to learn to take chances. If you try one work opportunity and it doesn't work out, go to the next. Which you asked about the hotel investments. All right, well, that came to me. We were LLC partners in a 20, well, I don't know how many properties are still left, but there were 20 at one time, hotels around the country. And that opportunity came through a golf connection.
Nice.
I had a friend of mine named Tonto.
Yes.
Loved to play golf, a full-blooded Apache Indian. He introduced me to some golfing friends of his, and then he happened to say, "Hey, Janina, if you're looking for an investment, these guys are into the hotel business. It's a real good business." And the people who are running it, very important. The people who are running it have to be good at what they do, and you got to check it out. Don't depend just on what they say, but check it out. And I got into it back in 1999. By then, the income housing business was all gone. Had sold that, and then the restaurant. But got into the hotels in 1999. So it's been a few years. But now it's to the point where they're starting to cash out. And these investments have been very, very good investments all along and are a nice cushion to lead you into your retirement years, which is very important, too. It's never too young to start thinking about retirement and putting money away. I know these kids today, they spend $5 on a coffee or $8. Oh, I see them drinking all that kind of like, don't do that. Make your own at home. Put that $5 in a piggy bank. Do what you want to. Yeah.
So I want to end with you telling me why Michigan. Why is Michigan a good place from a business standpoint? It's giving you so much in your life, in your career. You were born and raised in Detroit. But why Michigan? But before that, growing up, and I don't think I've had a chance to mention this to you, but the Detroit Pistons was my team. Back in the Dumars and Isaiah Thomas and Vinny the Microwave. But Detroit is really special. But why Michigan?
Well, Michigan and Detroit are great sports states, period. And to me, sports and life, you can't separate them. By the way, you probably don't know this either. I was the Detroit City foul shooting champion.
Oh, okay.
And I ran into Dave Bing on a couple of occasions.
Yes.
And he heard I played basketball, and I actually challenged him to a free throw contest. And he goes, uh-oh. I've met Mel Farr. I've met all these guys. Right. A lot of them, by the way, they all play golf. A lot of them love to play golf.
Nice.
And so Michigan, a lot of people, and let me go back to golf for Michigan. And here's something probably the rest of the country doesn't know. And I'm actually working on a story right now because I do write golf articles for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. So if you Google my name and SI.com, you'll see stories that I've written in the past, including my very first one, which was golf and the military, how golf and military benefit each other.
Nice.
Well, what people don't know, and this probably carries over to other things that people don't know about Michigan. The stats are this. Michigan has the most public golf courses of any state in the country.
Wow.
604.
Okay.
Out of 859 total facilities. There was, I think the figure is $6 billion was brought into Michigan last year, just on golf alone.
Wow. Impressive.
2 million golfers came to Michigan to play golf because they didn't know about the state.
Right.
The state, something else I also found out in my research about Michigan, was that I know we crab about the weather here, but I've also found out that while Michigan, okay, it can be cold, it can be this, it can be that, but Michigan is last in the country for catastrophic weather events.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, California, the wildfires, the winds, the Santa Ana winds,
and
the hail,
tornadoes,
the tornadoes,
in the Midwest,
the hurricanes, wherever, all these things. We don't get that in Michigan.
Right.
The arsenal of democracy. This is where it all started. You mentioned it before in World War II.
Right.
Without Michigan, we probably would not. Well, hopefully we would have still won the war, but maybe it would not have concluded as much as it as soon as it did. Well, once again, Michigan is kind of building that up again.
I love it.
And I think right here where we sit in Macomb County, the government just announced a couple of months ago that they're bringing all these wonderful aircraft into Selfridge. That is building us up again. They're discovering that Michigan is a great place to do business. We've got so many, the government, we've got, forget politics, Democrat, Republican, as you know, it changes in the flip of a coin.
Right.
So to depend on politics or any of that to govern what you're going to do, forget it. But Michigan really is the land of opportunity.
Yeah, amazing.
Detroit, as you know, the riverfront is just expanding. Things are exploding here in Michigan in a good way. And I think instead of the kids graduating from college and leaving to go somewhere else, I think they're coming back because lots of programs are being created to bring them back. We're doing a lot with veterans. I know there's a lot of veterans coming out of the service with PTSD.
Right.
We're doing things about that. These programs are designed to address that. We have golf. We have the PGA Hope program, which is designed to help veterans learn golf through social activity and using golf as a way to cope with that. Because where else would you want to be on a beautiful sunny day like today is going to be when I go out and play golf later? Right. Sunny, 75 degrees on a beautiful golf course. Why would you not want to do that?
Right.
So lots of opportunities.
And I'll end with this, but in the hotel today before coming here for the interview with you, I saw quite a few veteran services related commercials. And I was intrigued at how frequently those commercials were. So there seems to be a huge effort here for our veteran community, a lot of support services and a lot of opportunities for our veterans to get the support and services that they need post their service career.
You know, Ronnie, there are so many veterans organizations out there because I know just how many have golf outings because they come to me, Janina, how can we maximize our golf outing? But also, there are more, for example, every month, I think it's in the beginning of the month, there is a veterans to veterans, just come. Right. If you are a veteran or you work with veterans or you know veterans, at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial. And one of the things that I mentioned at the last meeting, because people said, how can we get our word out? How can we do this? So I suggested to the gentleman, Alex, who was running the meeting, I said, Alex, I've been hearing this for years, and we really do not have like a central casting place for veterans groups to land a list of all of those groups, who the contact person is, what their address, what their website is, what their phone number is. Is it possible that this group can spearhead a movement to do that, so that we do have a list that we can distribute to all the military, all the organizations? I call them all the usual suspects because I see them everywhere. But we don't have a central list. And if we could just do that, that would give access to anybody wanting to get to know who to call, what to do, whatever their point of interest is. They can look down the list and go, oh, wounded warriors. Okay, I need that. Fallen and wounded soldiers. Oh, I need that. Guardian Angels service dogs. Oh, yeah, we need to do that. Marines, yeah. Where's the next Navy ball going to be? And because there's so many things going on, but really no central place to put that.
So it just hit me that you are, in fact, the fixer. And you are the collaborator, because all of what you described through our entire conversation is how do you bring communities together and create solutions, and I absolutely love it. That is totally what we're all about.
Well, thank you, Ronnie. And there is one other thing. I know we've talked about it at our Freedom Center meetings and collaborations, that when people are working together, when you have a group of people you're working with where no one really cares who gets the credit.
Yes.
I did this. I did that. When no one really cares, when it's more about getting the job done, that's when you have a winner organization.
That is
because
true.
You can accomplish more than you ever dreamed together than somebody trying to go and do these things individually. You need to collaborate. You need to work together. And I think we as women, I know men like to do it too, but I think we as women, we tend to do that more because we're a little bit more social creatures or have been conditioned that way. So maybe my parting comment is, don't be afraid to include women when you're trying to run events or try to do things, because women really do know how to work and they really know how to collaborate. Whereas sometimes the guys, well, let's call this one and this one. They never think to include women, which is another thing I founded in 1993, was the Executive Women's Golf Association chapter in Metro Detroit, which was a group that would teach women how to use golf as a business tool.
Nice.
Because a lot of women get left out of that because they don't play golf. Well, I'm trying to get them to do that.
I love it. Now, I know that you're a singer. I don't know if you can close us out on on your primary song that you sing for everyone. I think it would be so joyous.
All right, I'll do this, but I have to warn you that when I've been talking for quite a long time, which I have been, sometimes the pipes get a little bit compromised. But there are times when I'm asked to do invocations or national anthem too. But instead of saying a prayer, there's a phrase called, when you sing, you pray twice.
Okay.
So let's see what I can come up with. That's here. I have to sit up straight. All right, here we go. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a child like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Janina Jacobs, thank you so much for joining us on the I Build America podcast. You're quite an inspiration to Michigan, to the community, to the U.S. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Ronnie, and thank you for all that you do in getting this word out. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.
I build America.